He's done a good job. Obviously a big opportunity for him, but he's stepped in and working hard like he has been, and getting an opportunity to try to get better.
Not an ideal scenario, but when Tyrod goes out the other night, I think Baker has to come in kind of a 2-minute drill situation, kind of no time to think, more or less. Was that productive that way?
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten a lot of reps in 2 minutes through the course of off season and training camp. So that's probably a pretty good point that if you were going to go into a situation, your first situation, it was probably as good as any. Plays he's probably practiced the most, with some of the guys that were out there.
We always hear about when defenses face a rookie quarterback and how they try to make it difficult for him. So what do you tell Baker to expect, and how do you try to prepare him for maybe things that he hasn't seen before?
I think that, we're doing that every week with all the players, but especially at the quarterback position and a young guy. You're doing your best to get him to just lean on his rules. That he's supposed to try to stay closely following, and everything we have rules, whether it's guys up front, line, you got to always be expecting the unexpected, and you got to have a plan for how to handle those situations, and it's no different at quarterback.
What does it say about him that he was able to play the way he was Thursday night without reps with the ones, and then how much of a difference do you think it'll make getting the time with the ones this week?
I thought it says that he was working hard to be ready as the guys that aren't playing have to be at every position again. But the spotlight's obviously on the guy handling the football every snap. I thought he did a terrific job and gave us a chance to win. Now this is the real test. I know a lot of people are carving the bust for Canton already. To steal one from my old pal Parcells, but he set the bar high. I don't know that every week's going to go like that went. And I will say this about, as an offense, we need to execute better earlier, because while Tyrod was in there, we gave him or anybody else, I don't care if it was Baker or Dan Marino, whoever you put in there, you get the quarterback hit through no fault of his own on the first 5 plays, and it's going to be a struggle. And so we as a group, it's not just Baker. Our offense has to execute better earlier in games. And, I talked about mental errors the last time I was up here. We were about half of that, but the majority of them came in those, in the first quarter and a half of football. So, if everybody isn't doing their job, it's not going to go the way that it went. He obviously has to play his position to the best of his ability, and everybody else has to do their part also.
It didn't look like Tyrod was himself. Those first 5 plays to blame?
Yes, I blame 100%. I know we're all very excited about Baker. That being said, I just want everybody to know that, I think Tyrod has done nothing but a tremendous job and put us in position to win the first 2 games. I've been very clear when talking about things that aren't always comfortable talking about, that we've made too many mental errors. A coach is never proud to say that of his group. And, that is what we need to do as a group. Because if we make some of the errors that we've made in all 3 games, it's not going to matter who's playing.
What value has Drew brought into that room? As Tyrod was brought in as to be a starter and to compete with Baker. He was brought in more as kind of a mentor type of role. How has he fulfilled that so far in your eyes?
I think he's been tremendous. He's a unique quarterback. I haven't been around anybody. I took some flack for saying this is the best quarterback room I've been around, especially from former guys I coached like Kurt Warner, guys texting me saying, what, but as a whole, as a group, and Drew's a big part of that. Tyrod's a big part of that. It's a unique group, and he's a unique player. He has insight that I haven't seen from very many guys, and not so much that because there's been some really smart guys that I've been around. He has a unique feel for how to deal with Tyrod and how he deals with the young guys, whether it was Brogan or Baker. I think it's as I've said before, a great situation for a young developing guy to be in. And that is a big part Drew, a big part Tyrod, and obviously Coach Zampese.
One last question about the 5 plays. It seemed like in those 5 plays there was a guy coming clean on every single play.
Yeah, that's why I said of no fault of his own. If you get your quarterback hit 5 times in the first 6 plays, and really more than that as you start to run through the start of that game, it was not a fair situation to put Tyrod in. And that's been the talk this entire week for our entire group, that we have to execute better early. I'm not a big got to start fast guy because I believe that's our as an offense. If you want to be a good group, you better start fast. But we need to execute and do our job better earlier in games. It can't take us a quarter and a half for guys to settle in, because they definitely did. And I'm not taking anything away from Baker. Baker came in and played great. A young guy, first time in a real game, phenomenal stuff, and gave us a chance to win. But at the same time, this is a process, as I've said, and all quarterbacks are different. Baker's a little more of a gunslinger. He's going to rip it around a bunch, and what we got to do as a coaching staff and coaches is make sure, that those are going in the right places and to the right guys most of the time. And Tyrod's a completely different kind of quarterback, but it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter who's in there. We have to do a better job of doing our job, because you're right, on those 5 plays, he got hit pretty good, and not one of those really was his fault in that instance.
You're in there now. Does anything change for you from an offensive schematic standpoint, right? Going forward now, or is just
business? No, I mean, we're not just plugging robots in. I mean, I said the first time I ever sat up here that the way that I've been taught and the way that I coach and has been very successful for me is trying to do your best as a coach to give your guys the best chance to succeed. And do what they do well, and that doesn't matter whether it's a receiver, a running back, offensive lineman, a tight end. I make sure that we as a group are thinking like that all the time. And when you're talking about the guy that touches the ball every snap, we're going to do the same.
I know you don't put guys out there thinking they're going to fail, but you did say Mayfield set a high bar. Is that now the expectation?
For me? No, I just want to see him, like everybody else, continue to get better. That little sample size, whatever, throwing for 70+% and making big plays, catching a ball for us. I think that was a small sample size, and I have been around long enough to understand that there are going to be ups and downs. We just have to get him to as much as possible without taking away that gunslinger attitude, to make sure that he's doing smart things, not reckless or careless things. He did a couple in the game and got away with them, but that's what we'll be working on. And it's great he set a high standard, but at the same time, I think we're realistic.
Coaching ground for you. I'm trying to remember if you ever had a real high quarterback draft pick that you've worked with as a rookie starter, or is this new ground for you too?
It's been new ground. The whole process, really, never have drafted a quarterback as, number one, obviously, but, not anywhere close to there. I've been with some young guys like Tony Romo that, was not a high draft pick, but I was there when the transition happened, in Dallas. And, it's probably a pretty good comparison, some similar attitude, similar kind of football savvy.
There's been talk last year or so that the college and pro game are starting to mesh a little bit more. Guys in the NFL level have been a little bit more receptive to using, whether it be RPOs or whatever. Has it changed for you at all, or you just continued to run your offense, or have you incorporated a little bit of the college game in your thinking?
The one thing I always bristle at is when you say your offense, because it's a terminology, it's language. My offense, so to speak, has been a lot of different places in Arizona. We struggled in the run game, so our passing offense was the run. The short, quick passing game was the run game. In Kansas City, we had a couple of big-time runners in Jamal and Thomas Jones and Dexter McCluster, and we led the league in rushing. So, I always bristle at my offense. It's goes back to what I said earlier. We're going to try to play to our guys' strengths and do our best to do that. But that being said, you're always evolving. I try not to be a robot, and that's why I bristle at the comment, my offense. It's our offense. It's what our guys put into it, and they're the ones that make it come to life. Whether it's a route runner, a running back, whoever it is, a quarterback, they're the ones that will really bring it to life with their skill set and ability.
Given what you said about Tyrod and your knowledge of why he performed like he did, was it difficult for you to sign off on this switch?
I'm going to choose not to talk about any of the internal stuff. I like all the guys, and I believe in all the guys. And lastly, what I'll say about Tyrod is, he came in and has been a leader from day one of this group, of this entire building. And I think, it wasn't all, there wasn't this same excitement and prettiness to it right now. And he was a big part of getting this, he was and is, be a big part of getting this thing continuing going in the right direction, because I feel like we are. And how this goes around, we got to have all those guys ready all the time. And he will be.
2-point conversion, something you took from Philly, or do you have that for years?
Absolutely, I have no shame. If plays look good, hey, Kenny Zampese has a library of plays I've never even believed could exist. I don't know how he watches enough tape of other people to have it stored up, but great resource. But like I said, I have no shame. If something looks good, I think the way that it actually went is I was down in our coach's locker room, and we have a TV in there, and they were replaying the Super Bowl, and I knew it was coming up on that part, and Kenny kind of runs our 2-point plays, comes up with the ideas, builds the library. That's why he's always searching for plays around the league, and I waited to see the play run on the TV in the locker room, and I went up immediately, and I'm like, hey, we need to start working on that Philly special. So it's that's the whole league, though, and I think you need to have your eyes open, and no different going back. I don't think I ever really answered the college and pro meshing question, but you as coaches, I think you got to keep an open mind and look for things that you think have a chance to work and fit what you're doing.
Did you see the run game make strides Thursday night? I mean, it looked like Carlos ran really hard and was able to have some productivity.
Yeah, I'm excited about our run game. I think we're going to have a chance to be a good running team. The challenge, with Baker in there, I don't think we're going to get 50 or 60 from him like we do from Tyrod, when he's in there. So, but at the same time, I think we've missed, just by guys not doing what they're supposed to do, some real opportunities over the last 3 weeks to have the run game have looked a lot better. So, but I like our backs. I think our guys up front are starting to all come together now after a few weeks of being together and getting on the same page. So I'm excited. I was really excited about Carlos. I take my hat off to him. The guy, has his wife been induced. That's not easy for a player to. He's texting Freddie Kitchens on the. It's getting close to pregame. He's saying, "Don't let him not dress me. I'm coming. I mean, there's a lot on his plate, and I thought he put the pads on and played ball and played at a high level and gave us a chance to win. So I'm excited. You know, the tough part is getting all the guys enough touches, because he's one of those guys, much like Le'Veon. The more you give it to him, I think the stronger he gets. And he's 230 pounds and wears those guys down. So they stop wanting to tackle him a whole bunch.
It sounded like he would have left if he got the call that the baby was coming. Would you have been all right with that?
I don't deal in hypotheticals.